Hello and welcome to another show of ATTD TV, coming to you live from the middle of the exhibition here in Barcelona. My name is Lena Bayón and I am so happy to be here with you. The yearbook session had just finished. We will host two of the presenters, Marc Clements and David Maash. We will also talk to a member of the ATTD community that has diabetes, so we will be able to understand a little bit better about the disease and the difficulties that comes with it. We will begin with Professor Maash. We had to record our discussion yesterday, and here is our conversation. Let's watch it. The most prestigious session is no doubt the yearbook session, where all the most important articles of the previous year is being presented. We talked to Satisgar before the session, and now it's time to summarize with David Maash, one of this year's presenters. Hello, David. Thanks for being with us today here.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be with you.
So, first of all, how was it? Tell us a little bit about your presentation.
Yeah, well, it is always one of the highlights of the year, the ATTD Yearbook session. It's such a wonderful way to get so much information, such a wonderful review of the literature in the past year in diabetes in many different areas. So it's really a wonderful session to watch, to participate in, but also then to have the yearbook to read.
So that's perfect. And it is not the first year that you are presenting at this session. Tell us a little bit more about the process involved.
Yes, it's something we'll start working on soon after the session finishes, after the conference finishes, where we go and we review all the articles systematically that are published in the area of pediatric diabetes around technology. I have to thank my colleague, Dr. Shlomo Shalatin in Israel, who really leads the chapter and has been writing this chapter for a long time. I think over the course of time, we've really seen how technology use in the pediatric population and diabetes has really evolved and leading to better care for children with diabetes.
And what are you working on now? Because we expect to see you again next year, of course.
Yeah, well, certainly we'll be working on the yearbook and reviewing the literature. I think personally our team is working on a project we call the 4T study, and we've presented lectures as well as abstracts, and it's a project to try to get better glucose control, tighter control after diagnosis of type 1 diabetes in patients in the pediatric population at our center at Stanford University. And what we've seen is about a 0.5% reduction in hemoglobin A1C at 12 months. Also seen good satisfaction from the patients and families to have CGM started early, and we also have the ability, working with our engineering team, to be able to get that data from the CGM up to the cloud and then to a population database where diabetes educators then are able to prioritize who needs help from the team, who needs that education, and to try to have a more precision approach to taking care of diabetes and educating the family on how to take care of their child with diabetes. So very excited about that. That project will continue, and I think we're seeing some good results.
You're always working hard, I see. So let's talk a little bit about the ATTD community. How important it is to the development of treating diabetes?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think the ATTD conference has become one of the highlights in the last 10 years. It's 15 years old now, and you can see just how the attendance has grown. I think we're over 4,000 attendees this year, either virtually or in person. It's really a highlight to be back in person and be able to interact with colleagues, be able to speak with them after the sessions. And I think that ability to network with each other in person is something that we've missed a little bit on the virtual conferences. But at the same time, having this hybrid conference will allow us to go back and watch sessions that we may not have been able to attend in person. So I think it's a very nice hybrid approach.
Okay. And how did you get drawn to this subject, to diabetes? When were your beginnings?
Sure.
When was that much?
So both of my grandparents had diabetes, and so from a young age, I remember seeing my grandfather give injections, and he didn't like those very much, and so I think that made an impression on me. And then when I was a medical student, the first clinic I did was at the diabetes clinic at the Indian Health Service in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And so I really enjoyed working with those patients, find diabetes fascinating, but also really an opportunity to get to know people with diabetes and to try to help be part of their care. And then I think in pediatrics, when a child gets diagnosed with diabetes, it's a great shock to the family, and to be able to come in with the diabetes team and help the family, help the child care for their diabetes and have as normal life as possible. And really, people with diabetes should be able to do anything they want. And so I think with these advances in technology, we're really giving tools to people with diabetes so that they don't have to worry quite so much about their diabetes. It's still a great burden, but the technology around diabetes is really steadily improving people's lives, and that's very exciting.
Yeah, I see all of you very optimistic and very attached to the field, and it's so beautiful to see it from here.
Yes.
I really like it. So how it is to be back here to an on-site event after such a long time without seeing people, being in contact?
Yes, it's lovely to be back on site, to see colleagues that perhaps haven't seen in 2 or 3 years. Personally, I had studied in Barcelona over 35 years ago, so to be back in Barcelona is really a joy for me, and to see the city again, and it's such a beautiful place. So it's been a lovely conference.
So, how does the future look like for you with diabetes treatments and these developments, technologies?
Yeah, I think that diabetes technology is going to steadily and progressively improve. I give the example to my patients of cell phones, and you go from an iPhone 1 to a 2 to a 3, and they steadily get a little bit better, a little bit better. I think that we need to reduce the burden of care. And I think that diabetes technology will do that. Of course, we want a cure, and we need to keep working for that. But while that work is going on, we need to make life better right now for people with diabetes. Also very important that everyone has access to this type of care, this best care. And globally, we've got a lot of work to do. Incoming president of ISPAD, or International Society of Pediatric Adolescent Diabetes, ATTD, and ISPAD have joint conferences, joint sessions that they do together, and look forward to that session, which will be in Abu Dhabi in October. And I think there is so much that we need to do internationally for children with diabetes. And I think after this, let's get back to work.
I'm sure you will do it. Thank you so much, David Maash, for being with us here. I hope to see you soon, and enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. My next guest is Marc Clements, that was one of the speakers at the Yearbook session with his lecture on using digital health technology to prevent and treat diabetes. Professor Clements is Chief Medical Officer at Gluco Inc. and he's a Professor of Pediatrics at the University of Missouri, Kansas City School of Medicine. Hello, Professor. Thanks for joining me here.
Yes, thank you.
Such a pleasure. So, how do you sum up the Yearbook session?
Well, the Yearbook session is really designed to review all of the great research that has happened in a number of fields related to diabetes technology in the past 12 months. And it's a way for the conference attendees to, in a sort of rapid fire format, hear about the best research as curated by many experts in the field. So that perhaps they can go home with a reading list and perhaps be thinking about what this research calls us to do in the next year in our scientific endeavors.
And tell us a little bit more about your lecture.
Yes, so along with several co-authors, I edited the chapter and formed the chapter on digital health therapies. And digital therapeutics and mobile health applications are a relatively new area in diabetes technology. We've known for some years that when managing a chronic disease like diabetes, that treating the physiology is only 10% of the job. Treating the behavior of the individual with diabetes and the behavior of the healthcare providers and healthcare team is 90% of the effort. And so mobile health or digital health applications can really help to connect the person with diabetes with their trusted healthcare provider, and they can also help to nudge the individual toward health promoting behaviors. So I have spoken a little bit about several digital health applications that are really designed to reduce the burden for diabetes self-management, that are designed to provide that connectedness between the individual and their trusted healthcare provider, and also to strengthen, if you will, the therapeutic alliance with their diabetes care team. We have found increasingly evidence that several mobile health applications that have features like making it easier to log or passively share your blood glucose data with your healthcare provider, to log your meal information, to collect physical activity data, all important behaviors in diabetes self-management, that these can actually lead to improvements in blood glucose control, improvements in other areas of health. So for instance, women with gestational diabetes, there's some evidence that some mobile health applications can actually improve outcomes for the baby, as well as outcomes for the mother. So I spoke about several of these solutions.
Very interesting. We're far now from where we were some years ago. ATTD is first a tech event, so it's your work. So can you imagine a world without insulin or without diabetes?
I can imagine it. It's a goal and a dream that many of us have. My goal in my career is to put myself out of business, so to speak, so I can retire. Once I learned from my 12-year-old child that insulin actually has a second use that many people don't know about. It is actually produced by some deep sea creatures called cone snails, and they actually use it to spray in the water to make the fish around them have a low blood glucose, so it's easier to cast a net and catch the fish. So I've always dreamed that maybe if we don't need insulin to treat diabetes anymore because we've achieved a cure, that now I can learn from the cone snail and I can go fishing.
Yeah, perfect. We're always connected with with insulin anyways. Yes. Tell us a little bit more. We want to know about your beginnings. When did your relationship with this field, with diabetes, start?
Yes, you know, I started my career being interested to be a pediatrician. And then I learned along the way that I would like to be a pediatric endocrinologist. And I really thought that I would be interested in all of the rare diseases that we treat in endocrinology, because I was a laboratory scientist and I was very interested in cellular signaling pathways and how hormones worked. But I, along the way during my training, encountered families with type 1 diabetes and type 2 diabetes, and I realized that when individuals have to monitor their glucose frequently and when they have to take insulin multiple times a day, that this becomes a really unique chronic disease that is almost a sort of cage in a way, because they have to make more than 140 additional decisions a day about treating diabetes that you and I don't have to make. And so I developed, I would say, a lot of empathy and a connection to these families. And I've always considered it a very sacred space to be invited into their journey with diabetes so that I can walk it with them and just help them incorporate the diabetes into who they are and into their lives.
I can see that all of you are very passionate about your profession and about diabetes. It's amazing to see all of you.
It's easy to be passionate with such wonderful families and individuals out there who are also passionate about changing the world for others. Yeah. It's a very activist community who all want to be involved in the solution.
Exactly, I'm seeing that for sure. Do you have a message for the younger generation that you want to share?
I would have a message to share both with the younger generation of scientists and also with those who are young and old alike who are being diagnosed with type 1 or type 2 diabetes today. And that is that we have the capacity to change the world. We can find ways to improve the treatment, find ways to decrease the burden for people who are living with the disease every day, find ways to prevent the disease and to cure the disease. And my goal, and the goal I have for all of you, is that by the end of my career, and by the time we all retire, that we have accomplished all of these things. I believe that scientific advances are happening at an increasingly rapid pace, and that if we work together and we collaborate, we will achieve our goals.
I'm sure you will. So next edition, ATTD, is going to be in Berlin.
Yes.
Are we going to have the chance to see you presenting the yearbook again there?
I certainly hope so. I plan to attend in Berlin, and I really enjoyed co-writing with my colleagues Neil Kaufman and Aaron Mel, the chapter on digital health therapies. So I hope to do it again.
Okay, so we hope to see you there then. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for being with us today.
I really appreciate it.
Have a nice rest of the day and tomorrow still.
Yes, you too.
Bye-bye. Ciao. Our next speaker is Jazz Sethi, one of the members of the ATTD community, who is also presenting at this year's conference. Jazz is here to give us an inside view of how a diabetes patient feels, what are her difficulties, and what diabetes patients really need. You gave a lecture yesterday titled Diabetes Cares, Money Matters. The name speaks for itself. How hard it is financially to have everything you need, Jess.
Firstly, a big thank you so much for inviting me to do this. And yes, I did speak about a talk, Money Matters. But I think the crux of the talk, and living with type 1 diabetes is expensive, especially when you're having like pumps and pods and stuff like that. Insulin is very expensive in developing countries and not everyone can afford it. Like I come from India where tech is a very big dream, so to say, for so many kids. So they can't even afford insulin. But what I keep saying is that along with money and technology, education matters more. And that was what my talk was yesterday. We've had people who've had the best technology but still have no control because they don't know what to do with it. They don't know how to control. They don't know carb counting. They don't know how to live with type 1 diabetes. So money matters, but I believe truly that education matters more.
So how can we do better according to that?
Yeah, no, type 1 diabetes education I think is so crucial. And I think that as entire healthcare fraternity, and I've told this to every doctor out there, have diabetes educators, have people living with diabetes share about their condition. What that does is that gives newly diagnosed patients, it gives them hope, it gives them motivation, it gives them some kind of a support that they're not the only ones. Because when I was diagnosed 13 years ago actually, it comes with a very overwhelming sense of loneliness, You feel like you're the only one going through this. You don't know how to live this life suddenly. Suddenly when you meet someone who has the same condition as you, it just breaks the ice. Yeah. So I think that would be my tip, that get people who are living with diabetes for peer support and education.
That's a perfect solution. Tell us a little bit about the Diabetes Foundation. You are the founder and director. How does it help patients?
So my foundation, it's called the Diabetes Foundation. It's in India. And we do a lot of work on advocacy, access, peer support, education. Of course, I love education. But the idea is that how do we give more people support? How do we give them different strategies, how they can, live with this condition? And it's about having fun. Like I've always said, diabetes does not have to be boring. It doesn't have to be like boring and dark and sad. Let's make it fun. Let's have some fun with it, We're all young people with type 1. So I keep saying, bring it out of the darkness into the light. We work with the government. We work with a lot of national bodies. And the mission and vision in one line, if I have to say, it is to make those with type 1 diabetes feel heard, supported, understood, and celebrated.
Very enlightening.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about your daily routine and how it's been affected by diabetes for some years already.
Honestly, like a person with diabetes, we have to think about everything. We are literally in charge of our body. So if I had to eat something, I would have to think about it. If I have to go out, I have to think about it. So it affects your life. It affects 24/7 by your life. But I'm on a DIY loop system, so it's a little better. And but I think over the years you learn, and it becomes habit. It becomes natural. Now it's very natural for me to think like my pancreas. You know, it's very natural for me to make those extra decisions. But we just have to be more prepared. We have to be 3 steps ahead always. But it also gives us a lot of strength, I believe, and discipline, a lot of discipline.
Yeah, you talk about your pancreas, because a year ago today you received the first artificial pancreas in India.
Yeah.
Can you please tell us a little bit more about that procedure?
Yes, no, so I actually learned about it in the ATTD in Madrid last year, and of course Professor Parsakar sort of helped me out with it. But I reached out to the community. It's an entire DIY looping system. So I'm currently on a DIY loop system, an artificial pancreas. You code it in yourself. It's very do-it-yourself. So you hack into your phone, you hack into your pump. I don't know if I can say this, but you hack into your CGM, and you make a system that works for you. You make a system that allows type 1 diabetes to fit into your life, and not your life fit into type 1 diabetes. So it's made life a lot more easier. It's made it smoother. I'm very happy with it, and I just hope that more people can have access to it.
So you are happy since 1 year now, your life changed.
Yeah, I'm clinically better. I have a lower A1C and more time in range. Just more confident about my condition.
Oh, sounds great. Let's have a wider look on ATTD. How important is this community to the future of type 1 diabetes treatment? You just said that 2 years ago you could know this about the pancreas and so.
Yeah, I think it's so important. I think all the latest tech innovations, the latest advanced treatments is all happening here. This is such a beautiful platform that showcases the research that's happening. Why I also love ATTD is because they get the patient voice in. Mm-hmm. And I've always said that conferences about diabetes should have people with diabetes in it. And ATTD does a beautiful job of involving us, and not only involving us, but making our voice heard and listening to that voice. The patient voice is very crucial in any condition. So I'm very thankful for this community. I meet so many amazing people here, so many people with type 1 diabetes. And it's so important because if the innovation comes, more people talk about it, more people learn from each other, and hopefully one day we'll be closer to a cure, or we'll be closer to having wide access of advanced treatments for all those living with the condition.
Of course, you are an actual part of this community.
Yeah.
Finally, how was it to come back to face-to-face conference again after, as you know, such a long period without being able to connect with people in person?
You know, my last conference was ATTD in Madrid 2 years ago. And it's so lovely, like, to sit next to you and not have a screen in the middle. Wow, right? I think it's just, it feels natural. It feels good to be back, because the energy you get in a physical conference is so much more than a virtual conference. Just meeting people in between sessions, mingling, talking, learning so much. Such a beautiful feeling, and I'm so happy that we're here. We're past this, hopefully, and I look forward to so many newer, more conferences face to face without screens.
We hope so. We hope that we continue now in the raw. Thank you so much for your time. It was a great conversation, Jazz. We are so happy to have had the chance to have you here. So we are approaching to the end of another busy day here at ATTD TV. For those of you at home that cannot join us here in Barcelona, please also share your conference experience with us via social media with hashtag ATTD 2022 and hashtag MyATTD. I hope that Jazz is going to do it as well.
Yeah, I'll be reading.
Thank you so much, Jazz.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure.
And thank you, and enjoy the rest of the day. See you tomorrow.